the Dead Sea, one of the most inhospitable places on the planet. At 1,300 meters below sea level, the shores of this desolate salt lake are the lowest place on Earth. Although the River Jordan, a sacred place for time immemorial, flows into it, there is nowhere for the water to go, its only release being the punishing sun evaporating it during the course of each day, leaving just salt and mineral behind. This is very likely the saltiest body of water on the planet, more so than the Great Salt Lake of Utah. Just a few gulps of this liquid will kill a human in a matter of hours. Not only that, but deep sinkholes regularly appear all over its banks, threatening to open up and swallow those foolish enough to wander too close to the shore. Yet, all the same, people have not only lived here, but on many occasions thrived for thousands upon thousands of years. This is Bible country.
This sea kills everything that enters it. A fish swept in by the river dies within minutes. Its body floats to the surface, crusted in white salt. That is what this place does. That is what it has always done. So when cameras captured live fish swimming along its shore, researchers did not have an explanation, but an ancient text already did. This is the Dead Sea. 1,400 feet below sea level, the lowest point on the planet, 12 miles from Jerusalem. The water here does not behave like normal water. It feels thick, heavy, almost oily against the skin. You cannot sink even if you try. Your body floats on its own, face up, like a cork bobbing in a bathtub. The reason is salt, not the kind you put on food. This is magnesium chloride, bitter, toxic, mixed with potassium, bromine, and calcium. The salinity sits around 34%. That is nearly 10 times saltier than the ocean. More than 10 ounces of dissolved minerals in every quart of water. No fish lives here. No plants grow along the shore. The beaches are not sand. They are crusted white salt, jagged and sharp underfoot. When the Jordan River carries a fish into this sea, the clock starts minutes, sometimes seconds. The salt pulls water out of its cells faster than the body can regulate. The fish convulses, stops moving, floats. Within an hour, it is covered in a white mineral shell. This is not a sea, it is a graveyard, and yet. In 2016, an Israeli photographer named Noam Bedin lowered his camera into a pool along the northwestern shore. He was documenting sinkholes, craters opening up where the ground collapses without warning. He pointed the lens into the water and saw movement, fish tiny, alive, swimming over pale rocks covered in green algae. Not one, a school of them. He lifted the camera. A few yards away, white salt stretched to the horizon. The brine that would kill them in moments sat just beyond the edge of the pool. But inside that pocket of water, life moved freely. The footage went global. News outlets picked it up. Scientists reviewed it. And the question everyone asked was the same: how? But there is a second question almost no one thought to ask. Who predicted it? 2 men wrote about this place. They lived centuries apart, never met, never read each other's work while it was being written. Both described the same thing: water flowing from Jerusalem, eastward, down toward the Dead Sea. And when it arrived, life returning to the deadest water on earth. The first man was Ezekiel, a priest. Exiled in Babylon around 593 BC, his city had fallen, the temple was rubble, his people were scattered across foreign nations. While in exile, he recorded a vision. He saw water flowing out from under the threshold of a temple in Jerusalem. Running east, the detail matters. East of Jerusalem, the land drops fast. Jerusalem sits at 2,600 feet above sea level. The Dead Sea lies 1,400 feet below it. Between them, a descent of more than 4,000 feet in less than 20 miles. Any water leaving Jerusalem and heading east has one destination: down. Ezekiel follows the river in his vision. He sees it grow wider, deeper, until it reaches the sea. And then he writes this: when it empties into the sea, the water there becomes fresh. Swarms of living creatures will live wherever the river flows. There will be large numbers of fish, not someday, not symbolically. He names the location. Fishermen will stand along the shore. From En Gedi to En Eglaim there will be places for spreading nets. En Gedi, a spring on the northwestern shore of the Dead Sea. It still exists today. You can visit it. En Eglaim, another location along the same coast. Ezekiel was not speaking in metaphors. He gave coordinates. Then comes the second man, Zechariah, a prophet writing around 520 BC, about 70 years after Ezekiel. He records his own vision, and it points to the same place. On that day, living water will flow out from Jerusalem, half of it east to the Dead Sea and half of it west to the Mediterranean Sea. There it is again, water from Jerusalem flowing east to the Sea of Salt, two prophets, decades apart, same direction, same destination, same outcome. But here's what makes it impossible. In their time, there was no way to know what lay beneath that shore, no drilling equipment, no ground-penetrating radar, no hydrogeology, no satellite imaging. The Dead Sea looked then exactly like it looks now, a sheet of brine under a scorching sky, lifeless, still, final. There was no visible reason to think water could heal it, no evidence that anything flowed beneath it, and yet both men wrote it down, not as poetry, as geography. And 2,600 years later, a camera captures fish swimming in fresh water on the exact stretch of shoreline Ezekiel named. But the fish are not the strangest part. The shoreline is collapsing, not slowly, not over centuries. Right now, while you read this, the Dead Sea is shrinking, fast. In the last 50 years, it has dropped more than 100 feet. The water pulls back. The shore recedes, and the ground left behind does not stay solid. It opens. They are called sinkholes, craters that appear without warning. One moment flat ground, the next a hole 65 feet deep. In the 1980s, there were a handful, maybe a dozen total. Today, on the Israeli side alone, there are more than 9,000 documented sinkholes. 2 new ones form every single day. The Geological Survey of Israel tracks them with drones, satellites, and radar. They map the coastline constantly, mark dangerous zones, put up signs in Hebrew, Arabic, and English, danger of death. In 2003, a geologist named Eli Raz was walking near the shore. He was studying these very collapses, documenting them, measuring them. The ground disappeared beneath his feet. He fell into a sinkhole, 14 hours at the bottom. Alone, in the dark, convinced he would not make it out, he wrote his will on a roll of toilet paper. Rescuers found him, pulled him up. He survived, but when researchers lowered cameras into those craters, they saw something nobody expected. Water, fresh water. Not salt, not brine, clear, drinkable water pooling at the bottom of holes just yards away from the most toxic sea on the planet. Where is it coming from? The answer is under your feet, or more precisely, under Jerusalem's feet. The mountains around Jerusalem are limestone, porous like a sponge. When rain falls, the rock absorbs it. The water seeps down, collects in underground rivers called aquifers, and gravity takes over. Water always moves to the lowest point it can reach. The lowest point on Earth is east of Jerusalem, the Dead Sea, so the water flows underground through cracks in the limestone, down through the Judean wilderness, beneath the white salt crust, pressurized, silent, invisible, until the sea retreats. When the brine pulls back, the pressure changes. The fresh water finds new pathways, breaks through, springs up, and where it does, the salt can no longer hold the ground together. The surface collapses. A sinkhole forms. At the bottom, clear water bubbles up. Scientists can measure it, trace it, map it. The hydrology is not a mystery. The water is real. Natural, explainable, but here is the part that changes everything. The direction it flows is exactly the direction Ezekiel described, from Jerusalem, eastward, toward the Dead Sea. And the place it is breaking through the surface is the exact location he named, En Gedi, the northwestern shore. Ezekiel could not have known about aquifers. The word did not exist, the science did not exist, but he got the direction right, the destination right, the location right, and he added one more detail that should have been impossible. He said the water would come from below. The pools are not empty. Once the fresh water breaks through, something else begins, algae, green film spreading across the rocks at the bottom. Thin at first, then thicker, coating the stones in a layer of living green. Then come the plants, reeds, rushes, tamarisks sprouting along the edges, roots finding purchase in soil that has been sterile for thousands of years. This is not a garden, not yet, but it is green, and green has not existed here in recorded history. The Dead Sea sits in the Rift Valley, a geographic trench that runs from Syria down through East Africa. It is the second largest bird migration route on the planet. Every year, more than 500 million birds pass through this corridor. Storks, herons, raptors, waterfowl, moving between Europe, Asia, and Africa. For centuries, they flew over the Dead Sea without stopping. There was nothing for them, no food, no water, just salt and silence. Now they are landing, kingfishers diving into the pools, herons wading along the edges, egrets stalking through shallow water hunting for movement, because where there are plants, there are insects. Where there are insects, there are small fish. Where there are small fish, there are birds. A food chain is forming, in a place the Bible itself called a land of salt and burning, nothing planted, nothing sprouting, no vegetation growing. But Ezekiel did not stop at water and fish. He added trees. Fruit trees of all kinds will grow on both banks of the river. Their leaves will not wither, nor will their fruit fail. Every month they will bear fruit because the water from the sanctuary flows to them. Their fruit will serve for food and their leaves for healing. fruit trees beside the Dead Sea. For 2,600 years that sounded absurd, until 2005. Archaeologists working at Masada, the fortress overlooking the Dead Sea, found seeds, date palm seeds, buried in clay jars, sealed. Preserved by the bone-dry desert air. Radiocarbon testing dated them to between 1,900 and 2,000 years old. They were not fossils, they were dormant. Dr. Sarah Salin and her team at the Arava Institute took one of those seeds and planted it. It sprouted. They named it Methuselah, the oldest living seed ever germinated, a tree from the time of Jesus, growing again. But Methuselah was male, it could not produce fruit alone, so they planted more seeds. Hannah, Judith, Adam, Boaz, Jonah, female trees, male trees, a forest coming back from extinction. In 2020, researchers did what had not been done in over 1,000 years. They harvested dates, the Judean date palm, the species King David may have eaten. The fruit mentioned throughout Scripture, gone for a millennium, now growing within sight of the Dead Sea. Ezekiel said fruit trees would grow beside the waters flowing toward the sea, and they are, but here is where it gets uncomfortable for skeptics. The prophecy is not just happening, it is happening in sequence, and the next part of that sequence has already been written. The entire Dead Sea has not healed, that needs to be said clearly. The main body of water is still toxic, still lifeless. Fish cannot swim in it. The salinity has not changed. What exists today are pools, pockets of fresh water along the edges where underground springs break through. So the prophecy is not fulfilled, not completely. But here is the detail almost everyone misses. Ezekiel never said the entire sea would turn fresh. He described something stranger, but the swamps and marshes will not become fresh. They will be left for salt. Read that again. The prophet saw fresh water and salt water existing in the same location, side by side, not a complete transformation, a divided one. Life in some areas, salt in others, and that is exactly the map we see today. Clear pools next to white-crusted shores. Fish swimming yards away from brine that would kill them instantly. Green algae growing beside dead zones. Ezekiel described a partial healing, and a partial healing is what appeared, but the prophecy does not end there. Because Ezekiel did not see this water flowing during his own time, he saw it flowing at a very specific moment in the future. The text places it in a sequence, a timeline, and that timeline is still unfolding. He wrote this vision in chapters 40 through 48 of his book. The river appears in chapter 47, almost at the end, but before the river other things happen, big things. In chapter 36, Ezekiel sees the people of Israel scattered among the nations, exiled, broken. Then he sees them brought back, regathered, returning to their own land, a land that had been desolate, empty, abandoned, and he sees them rebuilding. On May 14, 1948, the state of Israel was declared. For the first time in nearly 2,000 years, a Jewish nation existed again in the land Ezekiel named. People returned from Europe, North Africa, the Middle East, Russia, over 100 nations, exactly as the prophecy described. But Ezekiel did not stop there. In chapters 38 and 39, he sees something else. A coalition of nations, armies, moving against Israel, not before the return, after it. He calls it Gog, a massive invasion. Nations from the north, allies from distant regions, all advancing on a people who had just been gathered back into their land. The text says it will happen in the latter days. That war has not happened yet. Then comes chapter 40. Ezekiel sees a temple, detailed measurements, specific dimensions, courtyards, altars, priests, a functioning sanctuary in Jerusalem. That temple does not exist today, not in the form Ezekiel described, but the prophecy assumes it will, because the river he sees in chapter 47 flows out from under the threshold of that temple, which means the water does not come before the temple, it comes after. The sequence is precise. Israel regathered, check, already happened. A great war, not yet. A temple rebuilt, not yet. Water flowing from Jerusalem to the Dead Sea, starting to happen. The prophecy is not complete, but it is not silent either. It is moving, and the most unsettling part is not what has happened, it is what comes next. Zechariah saw the end of the sequence, not the beginning, not the middle, the final moment. He describes Jerusalem surrounded. Armies closing in, the city on the verge of destruction, and then intervention. On that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives east of Jerusalem. The Mount of Olives, a real mountain. You can climb it today. From the top you can see the old city on one side and the wilderness on the other, and beyond the wilderness the Dead Sea. Zechariah says that when the Messiah's feet touch that mountain, the entire ridge splits apart, not symbolically, physically. The Mount of Olives will be split in two from east to west, forming a great valley with half of the mountain moving north and half moving south, east to west, a fracture running in a straight line, from Jerusalem toward the desert, toward the sea. And immediately after that, Zechariah writes the verse that connects everything. On that day, living water will flow out from Jerusalem. The water does not come before the mountain splits. It comes because the mountain splits. The fissure creates the channel. The earthquake opens the path, and the water that has been flowing underground suddenly has a way to the surface. Geologists already know there is water beneath Jerusalem. The aquifers are mapped, the pressure is measurable, the limestone is porous. What is missing is the break, the event that releases it all at once. Zechariah describes that event, and he places it at a very specific moment, when the nations are gathered against Jerusalem. When the city is about to fall, when the Messiah returns, not before, after, the river that heals the Dead Sea does not flow during normal history. It flows during the intervention that ends normal history, which means what we are seeing today is not the fulfillment, it is the preview. The springs along the shore, the fish in the pools. The green algae on the rocks, the fruit trees revived from ancient seeds. All of it is happening ahead of schedule, like a trailer before the main event, but the main event is still written, still waiting, still pointed at the same location. And here is the part that makes this more than a religious curiosity. The mountain Zechariah describes sits on a fault line. The Dead Sea Rift, one of the most seismically active zones on the planet. It runs the entire length of the Jordan Valley, from the Sea of Galilee down to the Red Sea. Earthquakes happen here, regularly, historically. In 31 BC, Josephus records a quake that killed 30,000 people. In 749 AD, another quake destroyed cities across the region. In 1927, a magnitude 6.2 quake struck near Jericho, killing over 500. The ground here moves, and the Mount of Olives sits directly on top of the fault. Geologists have studied the ridge. The rock is fractured, stressed, under pressure. If a major quake hit that exact location, the mountain could split east to west, exactly as Zechariah described. The science does not prove the prophecy, but it does not contradict it either. The mechanism exists, the fault is real, the direction is accurate, what is missing is the trigger. And Zechariah says the trigger is not geological, it is personal. The river does not heal the Dead Sea and then stop, it keeps going. Ezekiel follows the water all the way to its destination. He describes what happens along the banks, what grows, what lives, what changes, and then he sees people. Fishermen will stand along the shore. From En Gedi to En Gedi there will be places for spreading nets. The fish will be of many kinds like the fish of the Mediterranean Sea. Not a few fish, many kinds, and abundance. A diversity matching one of the richest seas on earth. Fishermen, casting nets, making a living, on the shore of a sea that for thousands of years killed everything that entered it. This is not a miracle tucked away in a vision-only mystic sea. This is an economy, a trade, a daily routine, which means the healing is not temporary, it is permanent. And Zechariah adds something Ezekiel did not. He says the water does not only flow east. Half of it will flow to the Eastern Sea and half to the Western Sea. Eastern Sea, the Dead Sea, Western Sea, the Mediterranean, Jerusalem sits between them. A mountain city in the center of the land, water flowing out in both directions. But here is the question nobody asks. Where does that much water come from? The aquifers beneath Jerusalem are real, but they are not infinite. They are fed by seasonal rain, winter storms, runoff. For a river large enough to heal an entire sea and reach the Mediterranean, you need more than groundwater. You need a source, and Ezekiel tells you exactly where it is. The man brought me back to the entrance to the temple, and I saw water coming out from under the threshold of the temple toward the east. The water does not come from the sky. It does not come from the Jordan River. It comes from the temple, from the presence of God, which is why the healing of the Dead Sea is not a geological event with a religious footnote. It is a theological event with geological consequences. The text does not say rain will increase and aquifers will fill and ecosystems will recover. It says God returns to Jerusalem, a temple is built, water flows from the sanctuary, and death is reversed, not reformed, reversed. The place marked by judgment becomes marked by life. The valley compared to Sodom becomes compared to Eden, and the lowest point on earth becomes a picture of what happens when God is present. That is the part that makes people uncomfortable. Because if the Dead Sea is healing as a sign of divine intervention, then the intervention is not metaphorical. It is coming, and it is not coming to start a religion. It is coming to end an age. Revelation describes the same sequence Ezekiel and Zechariah saw. Nations gathered, armies assembled, a final battle, then a kingdom not in heaven on earth, 1,000-year reign, the Messiah ruling from Jerusalem, the nations coming up to worship, the land restored, the curse lifted, and at the center of it all a river. Revelation chapter 22 shows it. Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, as clear as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb down the middle of the great street of the city. On each side of the river stood the tree of life, bearing 12 crops of fruit, yielding its fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations, a river. Trees, fruit every month, healing, the same image Ezekiel saw flowing toward the Dead Sea, the same picture Zechariah saw flowing from Jerusalem, and the same scene John sees flowing from the throne in the new creation. 3 books, 3 rivers, same source. The story does not start with a sea, it starts with a garden. Genesis chapter 2 describes it. A river flowed out of Eden. It watered the garden. The tree of life stood in the center. Everything was in reach. Then came the fall, the exile, the curse. The garden was lost. The river stopped flowing. The tree was guarded by a flaming sword. And the valley that once looked like Eden became the valley of salt. But the Bible does not end where it began. It ends one step beyond. The garden comes back, but this time it is not in a hidden location. It is in the city. The river flows again, but this time it does not just water plants, it heals nations. The tree of life returns, but this time access is not restricted, it is open to everyone, forever. The Dead Sea is not the point, it is the preview. A small, early, physical picture of what happens when the presence of God returns to creation. Right now, fresh water is breaking through along the northwestern shore. Fish are swimming in pools where nothing should live. Trees extinct for 1,000 years are bearing fruit within sight of the sea. None of it was planned by scientists. None of it was engineered by governments. It appeared in the exact location 2 prophets named 2,600 years ago, in the exact sequence the texts described, at the exact moment in history when Israel has been regathered and the next events on the timeline are lining up. The entire sea has not healed, not yet, but the process has started, and once a prophecy begins to move, it does not stop halfway. The photographer who filmed the fish still goes back. Every few months, new pools, new springs, new life appearing where there was none. He uploads the footage. Scientists study it. Tourists visit the sites. And almost no one connects it to the ancient texts sitting on shelves in libraries, homes, and hotels around the world. Texts that say this is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of the end. The question is not whether the prophecy will be fulfilled. The question is whether you will recognize it when the next part happens, because the mountain is still standing. The fault line is still active, and Jerusalem is still surrounded by nations that do not want it to exist, exactly as the sequence predicted.